Okay, YouTubers, making some lunch here. I've never made this before, which is kind of typical of me. I'm notorious for finding the remnants in an ice box and just kind of grabbing stuff and throwing it together in a pot. I call it gruel. I make gruel. It's going to be another ramen-based dish because it's inexpensive. I have a lot of it. I have this little pot here that I'm going to put everything in and cook it on. Right now I've just got the cutting board on top of my stove here, my ugly stove, my 35-year-old ugly stove. So first thing I'm going to do is cut some beef to put in there. And I keep these beef logs because while they tell you to refrigerate them after opening, they're cured and tend not to spoil as fast as regular meat. So they just keep well. And until I've opened them, I can keep them... Hang on a second. Sorry, still got cars going by. Not very often though, thankfully. I love this website, this campsite. I love my website too. But so anyway, I keep these beef logs because they don't spoil. I don't have to refrigerate them until I open them, so they're just easy to keep. And I've started buying these in smaller logs because I can use up that log more quickly and leave other logs in the container unrefrigerated. I'm using a plastic knife. I have a metal knife that cuts really good, but I've been trying to mitigate my use of water. So far I've been here, the last time I filled this was last Sunday, and right now I'm down to about here. So I've used about, I don't know, 2 gallons maybe, if that, of water from my supply here. So I'm not sure how this is going to turn out. It may suck. I don't know. But it's kind of the way I cook stuff. I just grab things, throw them together. I don't necessarily have a recipe or a direction. I cook by taste. I cook by what I have in the refrigerator. So I'll go put this back in my ice chest here when I'm done. And this will keep me a good long time. I've been looking at some YouTube videos on how to make sausages and stuff. I may give that an attempt here sometime in the future. Okay, so I've sliced these. I'm gonna peel off the skins. Be kind of fun to be able to make my own sausage and jerky and all that stuff. I kind of like to get into a DIY kind of thing anyway. Let me throw this away real quick. I'll bring my trash can out here and make it a little easier. These little clips, wonderful things. Just clip that on the side of my table here. So I'm just going to cut these up into smaller bits. Looks like a pretty good chunk of meat there for lunch. Sorry for the airplane flying over. This is the outdoors, just so you know. I'll cut them about that big. That looks good. The other thing I like to keep are hot dogs because they also preserve well. I watched a video, was it last night, and the magic number for curing meat is 3% salt by weight. And I thought that was kind of an interesting little factoid. Okay, so I'm going to put all this stuff in here, and I think this is really all I have to cut. And ultimately what's going to go in here, the beef you just saw. These are those little Herdez cans of salsa that I've been telling you about. They're really small. They're 7 ounces. And they make for a great single serving. I'll dump this into a bowl and have some chips with it. It's very good for a little afternoon snack. A little bit of ramen. I'm going to do something with these. I don't know yet. These are Doritos nacho chip kind of things. And then I've got some cheese here. So those will probably end up being toppings. And I think I started to say I'm using plastic because I can throw this away. I don't have to wash it. I know it probably takes more water to manufacture this piece of plastic and my paper bowls and all of those good things. And I understand that. But for me, I've got access to limited resources, so I use plastic ware and plastic cups and paper bowls. So give this thing a light here. Yep. So I'm going to kind of brown this meat a little bit. It doesn't need to be cooked. You could just, put this all in a pot and add some hot water to it and probably be good to go. But I like to kind of caramelize my meat a little bit. Gives it a little more flavor, kind of concentrates those flavors. God, I sound like a chef. The other thing that I do, and you're not supposed to do this, you're supposed to leave the noodles intact, but for me it makes it easier to eat if I can break it up. So I break it up in the bag. I try not to pop it, which I've done already. Sorry, another car. Noisy one at that. So I'll let these brown a little bit. Just a wee little bit. Hey Mo! Yeah. Okay, probably have to edit that out. So I'm just kind of stirring this up and getting it, getting it browned, and that'll take a minute or two. And I think my plan is to get this meat browned, and then I'll probably add the salsa, the Hyundai salsa for some liquid and some additional flavorings. And then I'll probably add a little bit of water to it, and then add the flavoring packet from the ramen, which I've just kind of set over here until I'm ready for it. Mix this all together, let it cook a little bit, and then I've got a paper bowl here that I'll dump it all in, and then maybe I'll top it with some of my chips and some cheese, and that'll be my lunch. We'll call that lunch. Let's do lunch. And I'm just going to use my little spoon here because it's kind of sticking to the bottom now a little bit, which means it's starting to get hot enough to caramelize a little. Have to be kind of quick with these because they will melt in this hot grease. I have other regular metal and higher temperature plastic cooking utensils in the trailer, but as I said, I'm going to try and minimize the number of dishes that I have to do. So I'm trying to get away with plastic and paper as much as I can. And the nice thing about these is I can just empty this can and throw it away. I don't have to store it in something. It's pretty much a one serving size. What's happening here is that some of this meat is sticking to the bottom of the pot that I'm cooking this in. That's not a bad thing because I'm going to put liquids in here, and I'm going to do something called deglaze. I'm starting to sound like a chef here instead of a camper, instead of a retired camper. See, I melted the tip of my spoon a little bit. That's all right. Just kind of shrank. But anyway, what will happen once I introduce the liquids is it will deglaze that stuff that's settled on the bottom, and it just adds a ton of flavor. So it's a good thing. Just don't burn it. And I'm just about there. So I'm going to go ahead and dump my salsa in. And that's done. Trash. Trash, trash, trash. Stir this up a little bit. Get some of that, I call them flavor crystals, off of the bottom of the pot. I don't think I'm the only one that calls them that. And I'm going to add a little bit of water to this. Good. That's going to take a little while to heat back up. Pop open my ramen bag here a little more. It actually popped when I was kind of crushing the noodles. In this high altitude, they tend to be a little more puffy than they are down the mountain, as I like to say. So I'm just going to add the beef flavoring. I've got to have my daily dose of sodium chloride. Don't tell my doctor. And I wonder why I have high blood pressure. I'm a bit of a salt addict. I confess it freely. Okay, so I'm going to let this kind of heat up and come to a boil. And then I'll add the noodles and continue to boil this until the noodles get soft. And probably reduce some of the liquids if necessary. And then I'll pour that into my bowl here. And top it with my chips and my cheese, and another inexpensive meal. I think the Hyundai salsa, I think I paid 78 cents for those at Walmart or Winco. Winco is a store that I found in Idaho. Great store. They're cheaper than Walmart. Bulk foods, and less expensive than Walmart. And for me, that's enough to. I wish they were elsewhere. I'll have to look them up and see if they are. I'm starting to see a little bit of bubbles in here. Tiny bubbles in the ramen. Making me happy. Yeah, some more editing there, probably. So I used to be a musician. Did you know that? I've done a lot of things. Musician was one of the things I was. Never made any money at it. I did it at a church. Yeah. I was actually a pastor, a worship pastor. Can you believe that? Oh, I'm going to put my chair over here so it doesn't blow over. So yeah, I don't know if you have watched all of my videos, but there was a guitar that I talked about. I don't think I showed you. It was a 1937 vintage Recording King made by the Gibson Company and sold through Montgomery Ward's for $9.97 is what I saw in the Montgomery Ward's catalog. I went to a luthier in Orange County, and he actually had the original catalog. I was thinking about having it restored, but I didn't have the resources at the time, so I just kept it, and I've since given it to my nephew while I was up in Coeur d'Alene, and he's restoring it, so I'm really excited to see what that thing looks like. So yeah, I started playing guitar when I was 10. My grandfather passed away, my great-grandfather passed away, and in his will he left me that guitar, and I started playing. I took lessons for, I don't know, a few weeks, not a lot. I learned how to tune it. I learned what a fret was, and some other things. Mel Bay. Anybody remember Mel Bay guitar books? And that's, I learned enough to kind of pick some things up, and I played for a little bit, and my friends and I in our 10s and early teens kind of formed a little bit of a garage band. Turn off this fan here. I've got a fan blowing on my inverter to kind of keep its internal fan from coming on. It works, but it makes noise too. The inverter fan is noisier. I think I want some peace and quiet while I eat. So here, what did I call this? Ramen numeral. Crack me up. You know, my humor is about me. It's not about you. I think we've established that in some earlier videos, and I've got some water here for my chaser. Let's give this thing a taste and see how it turned out. Oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So I think the ramen, how many calories is in the ramen? 190 calories in the ramen. The Hyundai salsa, I think, has about 140 calories. And the meat, I think it has about 90 calories per inch, and I had about, I don't know, 2.5 inches there, so let's call that 180 calories. Just for easy math, 2, 4, so about 600 calories with cheese. And yeah, dang, I'm good. Okay. Wind almost blew my camera over, so I had to change some things a little bit. So, let's say, just for easy math, 75 cents for the Hyundai salsa, 25 cents for the ramen. That's $1. The beef log is about, I don't know, foot long, was $4 at Winco, and I used 2 inches of it, so another 75 cents there, so $1.75. Handful of cheese, couple of chips. Let's go another 50 cents on that. Call this a meal for $2.25. Is that right? Did I do my math right? And it's really good. You can get that Herdez salsa in mild and piquant. So up to your taste. Sometimes I'll add a little more stuff. I keep a rather large bottle of sriracha. You know what sriracha is? It's kind of an Asian. I call it Asian ketchup. It's made of chilies, not tomatoes. It may have tomatoes in it, but I don't think so. I think it's just chilies, vinegar, garlic, lots of garlic, and it's pretty hot. It's hot stuff. It's not the hottest stuff I've ever had, but it's pretty hot. And I used to be kind of a hot food kind of guy. I still am a little bit. I can't eat food as hot as I used to. I mean, I can, but I have to pay for it, if you know what I mean. Thank goodness for Zantac. This is really good. Is it rude of me to eat in front of you like this? I don't know that I care. I might. If you were really here, I probably would. I'm telling you, man, I could sell this. You guys look me up in Quartzsite, and I'll make you a bowl for $5. Time and materials. Can I do that? I probably can't do that on federal land, huh? They probably frown on people making money. Is there anything that we can do besides just sit there, I guess? I don't know. I think things, I think this community is growing, the nomad community, the homeless community. And, we keep sweeping it under the rug. And, in many cases we sweep it under the rug. We don't want to look at it. We don't want to know that it's out there, the homeless thing in particular. I think that, the nomad thing, people would probably prefer that, we live sticks and bricks and pay our property taxes and those kinds of things. But, the real people, the people like us down here, most of the folks that I talk to, wow, really, that sounds exciting. And, but, as far as the system, the way that, our lives and travels are managed, we don't quite fit. I mean, it's something simple like getting mail. You can do general delivery, and you can go pick it up. General delivery and go pick it up. Excuse me. Some places are really restrictive. Quartzsite used to be. I'm not sure if it still is. They had like 1 hour a day or 1 hour a week or something where you could pick up general delivery mail. And that town swells to 1.5 million people, give or take, depending on who you ask. And if it's 1 hour a day, even 1 hour a day is not sufficient to serve that volume of people. I've said this before, but yeah, that'll do, lad. So I think there needs to be some allowance, some modification, some understanding, some, I don't know, something for the nomadic lifestyle that, that allows us to live this way and flourish and minimize difficulty. Although it hasn't been that difficult, honestly. It's been pretty easy. You know, when Rachel was here, you know, she pitched in and, you know, she picked up her half. And, you know, she'd help load the trailer and organize things. And but that, you know, that doesn't really have anything to do with management of this lifestyle as much as just common household stuff. That kind of thing existed when we were in sticks and bricks. But, you know, getting mail, those sorts of things. Having to have an address. Not being able to park on your own land. That would give us an address. But better not do it with a, you know, a house on wheels. In some parts of the country. There are other parts that they either A, don't care, there's probably a lot but nobody cares, or B, you know, they welcome whomever come live here. Alright. I'm going to get the other half. Okay. So I went back and got the rest of it was in the pot and rinsed it out. That was yummy. And $2.50, $3 probably max cost. This is probably the only really big meal that I'll have today. And you can do that, you know, with chicken ramen. I buy little $1 cans of chicken meat from the dollar store. You can also get them at Walmart. They're not much more, $1.25 maybe. You can do that with shrimp ramen and tuna. I made a kind of a creamed tuna. When I was a kid, my folks used to make something. When the groceries were getting low, they'd make something called creamed tuna on toast. And I actually liked it. It was pretty good. And we always had a whole wheat toast in my family. And I think, is that true, sis? I don't know. Seems like it was always whole wheat or wheat bread. Maybe it wasn't. But we toast it, put butter on it, and then you know, you put the tuna and some milk and some flour and pepper and salt. A little bit of salt because the tuna's already kind of salty. And you just kind of cook that all together. The flour kind of thickens it up into a gravy kind of like thing. If you've had biscuits and gravy, that kind of a consistency. If you had something the military used to serve with ground beef called SOS, if you don't know what that acronym is, then you'll have to look it up. I'm not going to tell you. And that's what we would have, and it was good. And I do that here with shrimp ramen. Use powdered milk, pepper, and I'll buy a can of shrimp or use a can of tuna. Tuna is, you know, $1.25. And that's pretty good. A lot of ramen-based stuff, though, just to kind of give me the calories. You know, 190 calories for a quarter, pretty tough to beat. And you know, the way I doctor it up, it's got enough difference between meals that I haven't gotten bored with it yet. So that may happen in the future. But then I've got rice. I've got bags and bags of rice down here. I have some sushi rice. I actually have a sushi mat. I swear I haven't been drinking today. I had some Tuaca the other day. Did I tell you about that? That was pretty good. It's kind of like a caramely brandy. It's pretty good. Anyway. So I've got rice, and I've got ways to flavor that differently and add meat to it. But it all tends to be like one pot gruel kind of stuff. That's just the way that I cook. It's simple, and if I use everything else around it is disposable, so I don't have to wash anything but that pot. And I trickle an ounce or two of water in there, rinse the pot out a little bit, and then I dump it in the fire pit. I haven't been having a fire because there's a fire ban, but I don't know, to me that seems like the best way to dispose of that water. Somebody's probably going, no, 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 you can't do that. That's what I do. And then I have some organic, I think it's organic, phosphate free, it's called Camp Suds, and then I use that to wash my dishes with. I put a couple more ounces in a little bit of that soap, and I just wash it out by hand and dump it out in the campfire. And then, did you know that soap is made from campfires? So the two things that go into soap are a base and fat. The base typically used is something called potash or caustic soda. I think chemically it is sodium hydroxide. And you get it from ashes out of a campfire. You put them in a bucket, soak them in water, and drain the water off, and then let the water dry, and there's a powder left over that is, for all intents and purposes, is potash. And you mix about a 2-to-1 ratio by weight, 3-to-1 ratio, it varies. There's tons of recipes out there for soap, go look them up, they're pretty easy. A little bit of water, dissolve the potash in some water. Temperature needs to be equal, about 120, 130 degrees for each one. The potash will actually warm by itself because it's an exothermic reaction. And then you mix it with the fat, also at 120, 130 degrees. And you stir it up until you start to see something called trace. It starts to get thick. Pour it in mold right away. Let it harden overnight. Cut it into bars the next day, and voila, you've got soap. If you use olive oil, so olive oil is a fat, you have something called Castile soap. It's made in Italy, I believe. So anyway, a bunch of useless information in this head, isn't there? So Leadville, my impressions on Leadville. Love it. I'm coming back here. I think I would probably want to come back a little earlier. It's starting to get cool now. They've had the 4-letter S word in the forecast, snow. And it's not been here, but I've heard it anecdotally while I was wandering through town looking for my sticker. I did mount a sticker just a few minutes ago from Leadville on my wall of infamy. So I think I'd like to come up here and enjoy it a little bit sooner than I have, and probably pick a campsite that's back from the road a little bit. There's more campers back there, but there's less traffic. So I don't know. I'll check that out next time. Right now it's getting a little late in the season, and the trees are starting to turn, and which is beautiful. I mean, if you've never seen the fall in the Rockies, man, it's a beautiful thing to behold. Wow, is this thing gonna adjust its brightness? Yeah, I think so. And here, let me get my tripod situated here. So I don't know if you can see, there's an aspen behind me that's starting to turn a little bit yellow, and it's getting down into freezing temperatures at night. But it hasn't been bad. It hasn't been horrible. I've been plenty warm. In fact, last night I kicked some covers off, and it got down to 39. So it stays warm in my trailer. I run my little buddy heater when it gets too cold. I've emptied 1 bottle in the 2 weeks that I've been here. So I'm running it maybe 10-15 minutes in the mornings or in the evenings when it's cool enough for me to need to do that. Lots of trees. That sky is just miraculous. You should see it with some clouds in it. There's a lake right over my shoulder for those of you who like to fish and boat. I see a lot of kayaks kind of running up here, sailboards, paddleboards. I haven't actually been to the lake, but if that's something that you're into, then there's that here. Town is 3.5 miles from here. Takes about 10 minutes to get there. The town of Leadville itself, Leadville proper, old town, has been around since the 1800s. It is where Molly Brown lived. You ever heard of unsinkable Molly Brown? She was on the Titanic. This is where she moved to, was Leadville. Got its name from prospectors looking for gold and finding black sand that turned out to be a silver lead compound, and that's how the town got its name, Leadville. I'm not sure I would drink the water around here. Probably got a lot of lead in it, unless you've got some sort of means to remove it, some sort of a chelating process. Chelating is the removal of heavy metals from things. Cilantro is a chelating agent, if you didn't know that. So I got my sticker. I went into town. I dropped off another bag of trash and got my sticker here, my Leadville sticker. Here's the wall of infamy is kind of growing a little bit. Here's the one from Payette. Hobotech, if you're out there listening, see, I was there, man. I was in Payette. And, you know, I haven't got a whole lot of stickers up here. I'm missing one or two. This was the first night we camped we didn't really camp. We stayed at a gas station in Pearsonville because there was a wind warning. And that's where we spent the night. The first night that we actually slept in the trailer in the Quick Monks. Right there, there's where it all started. Blue sky, I like these. So far so good anyway. Mammoth Lake's beautiful area, but they didn't have anything for the Long Valley Caldera. I'll have to keep looking and maybe I'll find a sticker for that. Yellowstone, Coeur d'Alene, Mod Pizza. Oh, do you guys know about Mod Pizza? Yeah, Mod Pizza. It is the Subway of pizza. So you let me lock my door so the wind doesn't blow it out again. So, you know, you walk up and you specify your size. I'll take the personal pan pizza or whatever, I don't know. Get a crust. And then they start, you know, what kind of sauce do you want? White sauce, marinara, some other kind of sauce. And your toppings, and they bake it. And they've got fountain beverages there. They've got some really cool teas and jicama. You guys ever had jicama? Jicama is a tea made from the hibiscus flower. Very common in Latino cultures. Good stuff. I love jicama. It's got kind of an unusual taste to it. Some people don't really care for it. It's got a dusty component, I'm going to describe it as. But it's really good for you. I think it's got some antioxidants in it and that kind of thing. Mod Pizza. So yes, I would camp here again. Town is close. Plenty of campsites. There is ample room and accessibility for the biggest of rigs, and there are places where you know, you'd have to walk in with a tent and camp. The whole range, everything in between. There's places that are wooded. There's places that are open for solar folks like myself. I'm kind of in a halfway place. I've got a little bit of trees around me, so I get some shadows in the afternoon. But yeah, cool place. And so, you know, 5 stars for me. I recommend this place.
Plus that one in between. Oh, man. This is going to be a long video.
Maybe what I'll do is I'll speed some stuff up and shorten it a little bit. See if I can't compress it. That'll take me, you know, days to edit and all of that. But all right, guys. So that's going to be my review of Leadville, County Road 48. There's plenty of camping all around the lake. A lot of it is paid campgrounds. The ones that I looked at do accept the Golden Age card, and it's half price, but it's $24 a night. So you're, you know, $24 a night, half off for Golden Age. It's $12 a night. So it's still, you know, 10 nights. That's $120. Some things need to change. I think we need to quit spending money overseas and spend it on infrastructure here in America. Did I get on my soapbox again? I did. Yeah, close to town, great access, easy to find, Even in the dark, I found a campsite in the dark, you know, close to midnight here, 11 o'clock I think I arrived. A hardware store in town, True Value, there's a Safeway, prices, you know, they charge what they can get, not what it's worth. I looked at 40 little tiny little eye screws I was going to put for tie downs. It was going to cost me $20 for 50 cents a piece. I said, do you have these in a box? No. So I ended up buying 100 wood screws, and I already have D-rings. The 100 wood screws was $8. They charge what they can get and not what things are worth. To me, that's something in America that needs to stop. Oh, free enterprise. God forbid that we should say anything against free enterprise. That's it. I'm probably going on an NSA list now. I love my country. I served for my country, and I would do it again. But I've got some trust issues with it, having seen it up close during the Vietnam conflict, Vietnam War. Vietnam conflict is what it was officially. And you know, the practices that came to play, and the things that were done, and the way that folks were treated. And there was a guy in Illinois. I was stationed in Illinois for a while, and one of the guys went off base by himself, and he was beat to death by local farm boys in America. Yep, in Illinois. Hard to believe. And then choices that were made by the government too, the things that they did. And I don't know, you read your history, Saigon was about to fall, and the war would have been over back in 60s, mid-60s, early 60s, and I think President Johnson, then President Johnson, so it must have been in the later 60s. When was Kennedy killed? Anyway, I think Johnson ordered the last bombing run that was going to go over Saigon. It was going to fall, and Johnson ordered them back. And the war went on for another 10 years or more. And it would have been over. Somebody saw dollar signs, I think, in my humble opinion. But again, I digress. It's so easy for me to get on soapboxes. I need to stop doing that. Maybe I'll edit this out. I don't know. But anyway, Leadville, great place to camp. Love it. Will come back. 5 stars from me. Great cell phone service. Outside I had 4 to 5 bars. Inside I had like 2, 3. Sometimes it would drop off, and I'd hit airplane mode and then hit it again and turn airplane mode off, and I'd go find the tower, and then I'd have my 4G back again. I mean, enough for me to watch Netflix videos and upload these. This one's going to take a week. Excuse me. Oh, it was good lunch. All right, you guys, love you. Appreciate you. I think about you often. And if you've got a mind to help me promote the channel, I'm not going to belabor that, but you know what to do and how to do it. So it'd be great if you could do that. Like, subscribe, whatever. All right. Until I don't know about tomorrow. I think tomorrow I'm going to start packing up and maybe head towards Alamosa. I have to be out by Thursday, and I think today's Tuesday. So, all right, guys. Later.